Hello, I'm Rabbi Elton from the Great Synagogue in Sydney, and our personality today is Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, born in 1745 and died in 1812. A little while ago we discussed the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Chassidut. He had a student and major disciple called the Maggid of Mezrich, the preacher of the town of Mezrich, and one of his students and followers was Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. He was born in the Russian Empire in 1745 and from a young age was considered exceptionally brilliant. He mastered the Torah and its major commentaries by the age of 8, and by the age of 12 he could learn Talmud independently and was considered a great genius. He became attached to the Chassidic philosophy, which had come out of the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, and became a leader of Chassidim in his area, a great teacher and a great intellect. One way in which he was different from many of the previous Chassidic leaders and some of his contemporaries was his traditional learning and great brilliance in the classic modes of Jewish thought, Torah, Talmud, halachic commentaries, as well as in Kabbalah. Whereas some of the other Chassidic leaders had been and still were more charismatic figures, wonder workers, and miracle performers, he was also a great teacher and a great scholar. And therefore the Chassidic world turned to him when they wanted to produce some of the foundational works of the movement. For example, he wrote a Siddur, he edited a prayer book, which was based on the order of prayers set out by the Ari, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, who we discussed a few weeks ago, the founder of the modern study of Kabbalah. He wrote a halachic work called Shulchan Aruch Arav. As we discussed a few weeks ago, the major work of the 16th century, which is still very much in authority today, is the Shulchan Aruch by Rav Yosef Karo, which sets out Jewish law. He wrote a Shulchan Aruch for the 18th century and for Chassidim called Shulchan Aruch Arav, and he was the Rav, he was the teacher, he was the authority behind that particular work, endorsed by the other great rabbinic Chassidic leaders of his generation. He also wrote a work called Likutei Amarim, known more commonly as Tanya, which is a statement of Chassidic philosophy. It ordered and systematized and embedded in the sources the major beliefs and ideas of the Chassidic movement, particularly his branch of it. And so he's really the founder of intellectual Chassidut, and his followers, the Chassidim of Chabad, are known and always have been known for their intellectual approach. Chabad stands for Chochmah, Bina and Das, three different branches of wisdom, also corresponding to the Sfirot, the mystical parts of the Godhead, and so really encapsulates symbolically the idea of knowledge and understanding, but also a great connection to the Kabbalah and to the mystical tradition. One of his famous positions was that he was against Napoleon. When Napoleon came through Russia, he was greatly welcomed by many Jews because he was going to relieve them of their civil disabilities. He was going to tear down the ghetto walls. He was going to establish them as citizens on an equal par with all of the Russians that he'd done in other parts of the world which he had conquered. However, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi was worried that this would lead to a loss of commitment to Torah, of affiliation with traditional Judaism, and therefore he opposed Napoleon and supported the Tsar, who, though oppressive, at least encouraged Jews to remain traditionally loyal to their ancestral faith and practices. He died in Liadi, and that's why he's known as Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, and Chabad Chassidim called him the Alter Rebbe, the old teacher, the original and first founder of their branch of Chassidut. Thanks for joining.